Hi, this is Natural Time with Lisa Starr, and today on the Zolkin count is called Blue Electric Hand, and it is the third day of the Red Serpent wave spell, and it is a portal day. And I've been sick, which is very Red Serpent, and I'll talk about why, but my brain isn't totally with it, and I sound congested. So I'm going to keep it pretty simple and maybe even a little shorter. But I think that the first thing I want to say is that Red Serpent is a time when the body doesn't lie and the body gets to be heard. So we're on the third day of Red Serpent. Yesterday was White Lunar World Bridger. The day before was Red Magnetic Serpent. Whenever it's a magnetic day, it is referencing the beginning of a 13-day cycle. And the cycle starts, the first day describes and decides what the 13 days full theme is. So we have one Red Serpent day, but when it's at the very beginning of the cycle of 13, all 13 days reference the Red Serpent, and it's called the Red Serpent wave spell. And this wave spell is pretty famous within the Zolkin because it has 10 portal days in a row. Usually we have portal days that are one day out of several, like maybe you could go 10 days and one is a portal day, or you could go almost 20. But the closer you get to the center of the Zolkin, they come more frequently and closer together until we hit this total consolidation moment of the Red Serpent wave spell, where it is 10 days in a row. It started yesterday. White Lunar World Bridger was the first portal day, and today is the second of the 10. When we go through all these portals, which we will, if you just watch the videos that I make, then we're going to be in portals all week until I next come aboard to update you on astrology. So you can imagine this whole coming week is one portal day after another, which is pretty exciting. Except when you have so many portal days, they don't stand out as especially intense the way if you're moving through the Zolkin and there isn't a portal day for a while and then you hit one, it can feel like a bit of a rupture or disruption. A portal is a doorway, right? A gateway. So it always serves to help us break through somewhere we've been obstructed and haven't been able to make progress or make our way through. But when it's one portal day after another, such as we're experiencing now, it might be intense the first day or two, like right now. You might notice the gravity of time and your experience is a little more accentuated or intensified. And I think sonorous is a word I'd use, kind of like when you ring a bell and then go, oh, there's like an after effect. Like that's how I feel about having a few portals in a row. You just start stepping into a different frequency, a different vibration that is all about something more extraordinary than usual. And I'm just living it now rather than trying to describe it from memory. I think portals can feel like that we can spend time alone because there are things changing and gateways available to us. So we're navigating through openings that weren't there, and that's kind of something we might be comfortable doing on our own. We might be sort of enchanted by our own personal process in this time. And then if we're around other people, it's going to be sort of like exponential. Because if I have a bunch of gateways opening in my own life, my karma, my plans, my activities, and you do too, when we get in proximity to each other, it isn't one door that we pass through together, right? It's just like we're both living in an opening, in a vortex. And when we intersect, I think it becomes even more complex and more powerful. So you might be deciding that you don't want powerful all the time, that you want to be on your own, and then the complexity is something you want to kind of meet out. I'm just saying that partly because I'm living through a really intense storm in California right now, and everything's shut down and the power will be going out and there's no school tomorrow. And I'm a school teacher, so everything's kind of like, that's a doorway, you know. You think you're going to a destination and there's a big like left turn into something unknown, even if it's just for a day. I think of that as like a strong portal indicator. So just think about the portals. One way that I describe the portals when they're in the red serpent wave spell is that it's like undulating your way out of a dead snake skin, right? Like a snake, in order to exit its own desiccated skin, has to like wriggle out of it. It doesn't have any arms to pull things off. It has to just move its way out. And you can see it sometimes, and you can see the skin on the hiking trail. Sometimes you'll find one. So I think of the portals for the red serpent as us confronting that we've outgrown something. It doesn't serve us anymore. It isn't our most immediate karmic opportunity or fate. But in order to get rid of it or to finish the karma, we have to kind of move through the ritual one more time of exploring or embracing its lesson for us. So often in my memory of red serpent wave spells in the past, it's kind of like, oh God, I'm like back in something that I just didn't realize I was going to have to deal with. And maybe you'll have that experience. The other thing about the red serpent time that I have talked about for decades, I've been doing this for 25 years, and in the beginning I was much younger and single, and so I think I got more fixated on how red serpent is a very sexual time, because there's like snake imagery everywhere, which is phallic but also lithe and supple and, you know, skin to the earth. And when we are being like red serpents ourselves, we are feeling things for our skin, and perhaps that reminds you of being like in the more primal state of acting out, you know, sexuality, the act of sexuality. But it's a really good time to be in that kind of kundalini place. If you have a partner or you have an opportunity, I would explore it so that you can find out how your body feels differently when it's red serpent time. Like, it's just really nice to be so alive to different senses than the mental one. Like the mental sense is all about like thought analysis, eyesight. Like, oh, I'm gonna feel it with my fingers and see what it is. But when we're in red serpent and in something primal and reptilian, a lot of this, I think, like there is no analysis and brain activity per se, except to just determine if things are safe and if our instinctual needs are being met. And so to be in a sexual state, I keep talking about this as if we're not allowed to talk about sex on YouTube, but we are. So if you're having sex during red serpent, I just think that you'll have a really pure and beautiful and primal experience where your head isn't all in your head's, you're not in your head, you're not in an analytical space where you're judging yourself or others or trying to figure out what's going on. You're going to be just being in the expression of physical sensuality. So I really hope you've heard the message that I want that to happen for you. I want you to do some exploration. That's like an old-timey version of my red serpent teaching, because as I said, it was the thing that I noticed at the outset when I was studying the calendar long ago. And it's not that I don't have a sexual experience now, I just don't talk about it here. I don't talk about my own. I talk about yours though. Talk one way. Red serpent is all of this reptilian energy. It's not mammalian. So when we're mammals, we are warm-blooded. Our heart is pumping blood through all these limbs. We are like four-legged. We are not sliding across the earth's surface. That's where we start to become more analytical, because we're like rising up from the earth to the sky. But serpent is just instinctual and primal and trying to survive, having no like limbs or an exoskeleton. So it has to survive by being out of the way of harm. And a lot of our fixation in the red serpent tribe when we come to Red Serpent days, or this 13-day wave spell, is about looking out for things that would harm us, like looking, feeling out, sensing, being cautious against harm. And for that reason, we survive. We survive rather than, expire. The Red Serpent people that I've known always have stories of near-death experiences, and maybe more than one, maybe a few. So I was out in the storm, or the break between rainfall, but still just dramatic winds today. Like they think there might be a tornado somewhere off the coast of California. And I was in a kind of like a wind, what do they call it? A wind front or a wind stand, like a stand of trees that is supposed to block wind, probably planted, 100 or more years ago. And the whole time we were walking, the dogs and I was just like, I can only watch these trees because one of them might fall on us. And I thought about how that is just very Red Serpent, that feeling state of extra caution rather than being carefree and frivolous. Like, I don't think the reptiles are ever like goofing around like a monkey. I think they're always really pretty serious and aiming for satiation of basic needs like shelter, food, shelter providing safety, food providing something that will sustain the body, and sexuality in order to procreate, which is another survival need. So those are the things that we have to explore right now. I wanted to talk on this podcast for a few minutes about Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And I'm pretty politically savvy. Like I've definitely been paying attention to things since it got really ugly here in the USA. And so I know a lot about what is going on from the news. And so I am excited right now to be in the Mayan birthday apex of these two men, because their days are right next to each other on the Tzolk'in calendar. Yesterday was White Lunar World Bridger, and it is Joe Biden's Mayan birthday. And then today is Blue Electric Hand, which is Donald Trump's Mayan birthday. So they have a lot in common. Not only are they two old men, but they are both born in the Red Serpent wave spell. And for that reason, they're both really good at surviving. So people can make a big deal about how old they are, but they might last a while, because there is just a dynamic that being born within the Red Serpent time, it's hard to smash them. Joe Biden's story is just that he became president very late in life. We can be angry that he's old and in the office, but he tried to be president, and it didn't succeed, but then he finally did. And I think that really speaks to his ability to survive. And then Trump is just famous, Teflon Don, they call him. So, nothing can really smote him. But I think it's just kind of hilarious that they are like Tzolk'in buddies. That's kind of what I consider that, when you're right next to someone, and people have to make this choice as if they're from completely different thought realms, and their ideologies are really disparate, but they live really close to each other on this calendar. And I love telling the story, which regular listeners already know, which is that when Barack Obama and John McCain were running against each other, they were the same exact Tzolk'in sign. They were both red, self-existing skywalkers. They were both portals. Oh, and Donald Trump and Joe Biden are both portals, meaning they are born on portal days, and they act as portals when they move through the world. So, I don't really have a response to what's happening today. I just think that when we come to our Mayan birthdays, we sometimes have a lot of hardship or dysfunction in our lives bearing down on it, because it's like a rebirth process. And when we arrive at our Mayan birthdays, it's almost like being let out of the trap of growing inside a womb when there isn't really room for us anymore. So Trump just got an $83 million judgment against him on Friday. And I just thought that was really classic. Like, oh, yeah, it's hard to be reborn, Donald. You need to, get purified in a way. He's obviously living in internal and the surround of so much toxicity that, if there's a divine will, it just wants him to like atone and be brought down to earth, and that would help him be reborn as, he emerges today. So it'll be kind of interesting for me, who's in the mystical world and also the political world, to see if I notice anything changing in his story, his, diorama of his presidential pursuits, if for either of Biden or Trump coming through these first couple of weeks after their birthday. I had my Mayan birthday relatively recently, and it was the same deal, where you just feel a lot of the crunch of like the birth canal as you bear down on your Mayan day, and then a little bit of like, okay, I'm free, I can just breathe again. I'm less trapped, less, closely confined until the moment when my birthday comes back through. And then I like telling stories. I just have to tell a couple of stories. I'm school teaching as a substitute right now for some 13-year-olds, 12 and 13. They're all born in 2010, which is just hilarious. So young. I took their birthdays down the first day, but I then lost the slip of paper and all my, what I carry around in my bookish way, my professorial way. I didn't find it until today. And I'm so relieved I did, because they're hard to teach. They're like COVID kids who've had school interrupted, and the pandemic like blew their minds, I'm sure. And they're pretty hardened. And even though it's like an artsy alternative private school, I think they spend a lot of time online. So anyway, I looked up their birthdays. The first one I looked up was Blue Overtone Hand, which is my exact guide. You have to be, I think, following this calendar to understand what I'm talking about, because it's such intense synchronicity. And synchronicity is exactly what this is. When you're just haphazardly or, happily going about your day, your life, something jumps out from the Zolkin or the Mayan teachings that is astounding. And you're just like, what are you even talking about? This is so wild. These kids are difficult to teach, and I haven't been enjoying it. But the first one I looked up was my exact guide. I'm a blue overtone storm. On my day of birth, I'm guided by blue hand, and I'm exactly guided by blue overtone hand. I have a daughter. My firstborn daughter is a blue overtone hand. And before I followed this calendar, I, managed to have a birth on the day that guided me, which is true. Motherhood and being her mother has guided me. My daughter also went to the same kind of art school. This is a Waldorf school for children. And so I taught her at one point. The last time I taught, in fact, I was her teacher. And so to look up someone who's the same as my daughter, after I had shown these kids my daughter's work from 20 years ago when she was in school. Okay, so that would be enough right there. Next birthday I look up is a blue overtone storm. One of these students is the same as me. I've become speechless. There are only 6 kids in the class, and so far I've looked up 2, and they have direct relationship to me and to each other. Then I found another overtone, and then I found a blue spectral monkey, a white overtone mirror. The most sort of difficult kid is a white mirror. Does not surprise me. He's got stuff going on at home. White mirror means we have to sacrifice in life. We encounter a lot of things that humble us. Then there's a blue spectral monkey, which is a big deal because that's Jose Arguelles, who gave us the modern language for the Mayan teachings. And there's a red crystal dragon, which has more significance to me. And I don't remember the last one, but that's enough, right? So I'm going to teach the kids Mayan astrology. I'm going to disguise it. I have to teach them the zodiac astrology and then the Chinese astrology, and then I'll slip the Mayan in. But I just find it so cool. I feel like this was all for me. They don't care or need to know much, but I get to be sparked by really some incredible synchronicity. I hope you understand. I hope you understand why I'm excited. Okay, coming up, like I said, it's just portal time. We have yellow self-existing star, and then red overtone moon. We have white rhythmic dog, blue resonant monkey, yellow galactic human at the end of the week, which will remind us of the wave spell that was before this one, the yellow human wave spell. And they're all portals. Everything I've mentioned is a portal. Yellow galactic human, then red solar skywalker, and white planetary wizard, and then finally blue spectral eagle. Those are the portal days to come, but I'll be back and talking to you before they've all come through. So thanks for listening and understanding that I'm super nasally congested, but I'm pretty pumped up. When there's a storm outside, being a storm, I'm like, I understand why people don't want to hang out with me. Like, this is way too much. But I do feel like it's amazing to be born in the iconography and the astrology of something that is so wild, just wilder than animals, you know, like ultimate wildness is weather. I'm Lisa Starr. I am another yourself, and in Mayan we say, in Lakesh.